remember. I think it's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I start braking right about here, and you should be back up into, I think, fifth gear. And the goal for this corner is to get down to either third or second for this first turn. Um, and you turn in a lot earlier than you think. If you go around on the outside, you're going to slide a lot. The inside of this corner, though, is pretty sticky due to the camber, and you can get a little bit over here off the curbing. I would aim for this until you're good at hitting it. Otherwise, you'll kind of get used to running a little away from the curb and not get used to turning in early. And so I come around this corner and I'm sliding a little bit. I don't think you have to use a lot of trail braking here, just due to the way things are. About the time I get off the curbing, I'm in second and I give it a squirt of gas. But I stay pretty wide here. And then immediately after the car's settled, I'm back on the brakes. And this time is all about trail braking. So you want to shift down to first and trail brake, and you really want to try and get the rear end as light as you can, and take this corner pretty tight. And then once you're sure you're not going to slingshot into the wall, you just ease back onto the gas and head out of here. That corner has a decent amount of time in it if you can get it right. And it's really about testing how good you are at trail braking and getting the rear end to swing around. And then we should get back up to fourth gear in this little straight. And what I've been using in last December, there was some dirt, but I don't really see it in late afternoon versus morning. But right in front of me, there are a bunch of tire marks, and there's two tire marks that kind of come together in like an hourglass shape. And I'm kind of using those as when I start to get on the brakes. And I'm going to shift down to third, but this isn't a hard braking zone. This is just kind of a light braking zone to bleed off some speed. And then I'm going to turn in. And my goal here is not to put a whole tire on this inside, because it kind of upsets the car. But I do want to get pretty close to putting a whole tire on the inside red grading. And while I'm going through this curve, it's very, very important that I have my eyes up ahead, because we're going to be in third, and then we're going to mash on the gas the moment we're sure we won't die. And once you run this a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. And probably right about here, I'm going to say, okay, I think I can make it. And then you commit. And you hold down in third. You probably clip a little bit of grass over here. And then the car will start sliding towards this wall. And do not look at the wall. If you look at the wall, you're going to hit it. You should be looking down at your next apex. And if your peripheral vision says you're going to slam into the wall, obviously lift and keep the car alive. But in general, don't look at any of the walls here. And then we're going to come back out here, maybe get a hair of grass. And then this turn, it doesn't seem tricky, but you turn in a little earlier than you think, and closer to the wall appears to be more grip. So if I turn in a little early, I don't have to lift at all, and I don't even really swing out. If I turn in late, I might have to lift. For this turn, I think we're back up to fourth. Just after these tire marks start, I'm going to shift down to second. And in this turn in particular, you do a hair of trail braking, but probably by about here, you need to be off the trail braking. Just the way things work, the rear end's going to slide nicely for you. And here, again, my goal is to clip into this inside just a hair. And I give up a little bit of speed here because the exit speed is going to matter. And you really want to get on the power right about here, maybe a little after. In second gear, and then you don't want to have to give up any throttle until the next hard braking zone. So I'm on the throttle and I'm committed. I'm going to run over this curb, staying committed. And I'm going to swing out to this wall, staying committed, not looking at the wall. Depending on how you did, you'll arrive here in fourth or fifth. Until you get used to it, you may be braking a little earlier, but you can brake slightly after this too, kind of where the concrete turns into the metal on the wall. Also kind of where you can see the shadow. And we're gonna haul the car down to second gear. And probably around here, earlier than you would think, you want to start turning in. And it just, to me, there seems to be a lot more grip. And you want to turn in with a hint of trail braking, but probably by about here, this is one of those corners where you don't want to trail brake all the way to the apex, or you'll just kind of start sliding. And so right about here, I'm off the gas, and obviously off the gas, I'm off the brake. And I'm just kind of sliding in. On a good lap, you are going to hit the curbing over here. The white, you'll hit a little of the white curbing, but you will definitely be all over this striped curbing. And how hard you hit these bumps is really going to depend on what type of setup you've done. I like to run like a 0 SPO here because I like to hit curbs. I think last season I saw a video from Miko, and Miko runs like a 5, and he doesn't hit curbs, so he gets to have much nicer turn in and much less understeer. But then I try and make up for it by just making the corners wider and running over stuff. That's just my style. And then if you do have that higher SPO, you can run over this other curb nicely on your exit. But once and I didn't talk about when you put the power down on that curb. I think right around the time you hit the white curb, you want to wait for the car to settle after you've hit it, which may take just an instant, and then you're on the power period, and you're holding the power down, and you're looking down the straightaway so you don't hit this wall. And so we're shifting from second to third to fourth. And in a race, when you have the draft, you'll definitely be going from fourth to fifth. And then we're coming up to the hairpin. So we passed the 2 marker a little bit. The 2 marker is probably your braking and afternoon weather, but with late afternoon, we can go a little past it. And you've definitely heard me say it before, but with the Skippy and a hairpin, a late apex is pretty much what you always want, except for this hairpin. So with this hairpin and the long straightaway after, whoever gets on power first is going to win. So we're going to be doing a hard braking down to first gear. And then you turn in earlier than you would think. I think that's just due to grip. But on a good lap, you're going to be on power before this apex. And the braking zone's kind of hard because your eye's naturally drawn to the curbing, and I find this curbing to be slick. I don't like it. So I actually try and go as deep as I can braking to where I'm not hitting the curbing, but I'm not, 4 feet down from here. And so I want to get in the power in first gear, and then I'm going to take as wide an arc as I can without hitting the wall. So you're going to swing out to the wall. Obviously, if you get on the power too quickly, your tail end's going to slide. If you turn the wheel too much, your tail end's going to slide. So you have to try and stay on the edge from the moment you get on the power without sliding, and come out to the wall. And then we're hopefully going to have a half mile an hour or more over our rivals because we got on the power early. All right, for the best turn I know of on iRacing, the Wall of Champions. Um, so for this one, I think it might be faster in third gear, but I find myself being more consistent in second. So what I like to do is use second gear, and probably about here, I'll start braking. And I don't do a threshold brake here, and the reason is I think the fastest way through this corner is a nice controlled slide. And so if you do a hard braking, it's kind of harder to control how the back end's going to behave. So you want to haul the car down a little bit, but at a nice a nice 35% braking pressure, and you're going to be shifting from fifth down to second. And then you turn in, and it's really hard in the walkthrough to show this because the car isn't sliding. But at this point, you're still going pretty darn fast in second gear, and the car starts to slide in. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to line up these curves. So you can see the view out of my cockpit right now. I can see the two curves have kind of started to align. When I see them coming into alignment, I'll give a little bit of gas, and then I'll probably get off the gas while I go over this first curve. And the moment I'm off this curve, though, I'm on the gas and I'm staying on. And I'm actually just going to run over the second curve because I've got my higher SPO. When I run over that second curve, if you see where the red and white curbing or red and white wall of champions ends, there's an extra couple feet before you get to more wall. I'm looking at that. I'm aiming for that. So I'm not staring at the white curbing. I'm actually, I align everything, and then I'm staring at this back point, and I'm just trying to will the car to miss the red and white and come into this area and then pull out. And when you do it right, it's a thing of beauty. When you do it wrong, you get to start from pit road again. So yeah, that's all I got. What questions do you guys have?
As I say, that was pretty good. I struggle, just the car's kind of unpredictable when I get to the corner, so sometimes it turns in real nice, sometimes it doesn't seem to, but maybe I'm braking too hard like you were suggesting on the hairpin there.
Yeah, and I think as I was saying, there's a couple of corners too where it seems like there's more grip on an earlier turn in. And so if you haven't experimented with maybe turning in earlier than feels natural with a little less trail brake, your rear end will kind of move around. And honestly, what happened was last season I did like 19 time trials here, and in those 19 time trials, I eventually found like, oh yeah, for whatever reason, turning in earlier here works.
Okay.
And definitely at this track, play with your SPO. You may find you turn faster laps with like, the lowest possible setting, and then just completely missing the curbing. And that may work great for you. You may find that you want to raise the car to the roof and run right over all the curbs. You can kind of do either here and be really quick. It's mainly about finding what works for you. Just don't put it all the way to the floor and then run over the sausages.
Is there a setting to turn the walls off?
If this track has like a lot of straight line braking, is there like a different place maybe to put the brake bias to take advantage of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, in general, I run 51, 52, or 53 brake bias all the time. And with straight line braking, especially the hairpin, I kind of prefer 51. I feel like that hauls you down faster and helps you rotate the car.
Okay.
And then when we were at Coda, I was running 52 because there's a lot of curved braking, and I don't really ever run 53.
Okay.
But that's all a matter of style. I think Philippe is 52 everywhere. I think he just runs the same setup everywhere.
Okay. I thought maybe like you might try to run more on the front, seeing how it's straight line braking, get slow it down a little bit more, then turn.
Well, that's what a 51 does, is it runs.
Oh, 51's
more.
forward? I thought higher was more forward. I thought like 60
Oh.
was for forward.
Oh, maybe you're
Maybe
right.
not.
Can't remember.
Maybe not. I don't know. Not that important. All right.
Yeah, I just think about how the car reacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 51 helps you rotate it more, so I thought that would mean more in the front.
Okay. See, I thought the opposite. Or I thought you were like locking up the rear tires to try to make it turn, which is why I thought that's why 51 was more rear. But okay, I could be wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things too that until you are running your laps within 100 milliseconds of each other,
It's not that important.
you're probably not going to notice the difference.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Wish me luck in healing my elbow. I'm really sad. I love this track, and I thought I'd have a good chance at a win this week. Probably my best.